I think everybody, if you've been a long time follower of Whiskey and Windage, you may have seen the episode that we did a while back with Mr. Mike Odell from CMMG. We want to welcome him back to the show. And Mike, we're really happy to see you. Thank you for coming back.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me. I love doing this type of thing, and I look forward to this. This is gonna be fun. You told me about a few of your new segments and stuff, and it sounds like it's gonna be a good change, and it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, well, it's what we're trying to do is just keep it lighthearted, keep it fun, and keep it informative. But it's how many times can we regurgitate the same thing? And we want to do something different for the podcast guest as well, because
Right.
you feel like, oh yeah, it's a broken record. I've said this 400 times already. So, how can we do it just a little bit different to make it a little bit more of a unique experience for you?
Yeah, I find myself doing that every once in a while. I'll be like, man, I was like, I find myself if I've been on somebody's podcast a couple times, I'm like, okay, I think I may have told this story before, So I'm like, okay, no, I promise this isn't a rebroadcast of the last time I was on. I've changed shirts, or whatever.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
so why don't you tell us or tell our listeners, I guess, a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do at CMMG.
Oh man, that is a loaded question. My name is Mike Odell. I have been with CMMG or sistering companies for what did I figure it up the other day? Am I 13 years now? So
And
been with the company for a minute. I jokingly say that I do what I'm told to do today.
smart man.
So I have had many roles in my time with CMMG, and I kind of can be fairly fluid and kind of do whatever is needed of me. My primary focus is like kind of PR and this type of thing. So it's I'm not necessarily officially in the marketing department anymore, but I'm still marketing adjacent. I still am the face of the company, like with our YouTube channel and our socials and stuff. I'm the person that reaches out to partners, to work with a little bit. I work with the marketing team on certain things, like because I've been with the company long enough that I've got some relationships that I've built over the years, and I kind of keep those. And then some of the newer ones, we've got other people on the marketing team that they'll look at them and they might bring things to me. I help with our customer service team, our tech support team. I'm kind of all over. So
Right on.
event planning, all that type of stuff.
Wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Well, I know every time that we go somewhere that CMMG is present, we see your smiley face and your nice beard, and always make it a point to come up and shake hands. So it's been good to get to see you in person as well.
Oh yeah, it's a pleasure running into you guys and others. People that watch your podcast here. Run into you guys at shows. Goals is going to be in a new location next year, a little bit closer to us. We're still trying to figure out our schedule of events for what shows we're going to be exhibiting at in
Mhm.
26. But I will for sure be there at least in attendance, and just being able to see people and rub elbows and keep the communication and contacts going.
Yeah.
Cool. Is the industry gonna see you guys at SHOT Show 26?
Nope.
Okay.
SHOT Show 20 was our last SHOT Show. So you
Bang for
might
the buck.
see a couple people walking around SHOT Show that are wearing CMMG shirts, just because we still do have industry contacts and stuff like
Yeah.
that we still conduct some business there. But we quit exhibiting after 2020, and it's we were able to take a lot of the money that you spend at those large shows like that. I mean, because we quit doing SHOT, we quit doing the NRA annual meetings and shows. We quit doing both of those, and you would be surprised. Uh, to
How
put it
much money
point
frees
blank,
up in
how
that
how
budget,
how,
huh?
how much of a money pit those things are. I mean,
Yeah.
they're great shows. I definitely like the NRA version of the show better because I'm talking to the end user. So
Yeah.
I'm talking to me. I'm talking to the guy that wants to buy the gun,
Mhm.
and I get to be like, this is cool, isn't it? I was like, here, check this out. Whereas at SHOT Show, you've got to be on with, this is, 9310 steel, and this is button broach rifling, and we do this or we do that. And, it's just, you have to have all the tech information.
Yeah.
And then you have to be able to quickly switch into sales mode if you're talking with dealers or wholesalers or something, or at least get somebody some pricing and stuff real quick. It's just a lot of stuff to keep track of. Whereas, shows like the NRA show and goals and, the things that are open to the public, with those, it's just, you get to just have a conversation and be yourself with like-minded people like we're doing here.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just guys that like guns having a chat. But that's my job.
Yeah, anybody who hasn't been to SHOT Show, or really considered it though, like those big players on those main floors, like there's a lot of money going into that with very little proof of
Well, I mean,
ROI.
Yeah.
It's like,
because
what the
I
heck's
used to
going
be
on
the
there?
person that actually was in charge of all the logistics for us to do that. So I was booking the square footage for the floor. I was working with our booth
Yeah.
exhibitor to get the booth and everything ready. I was making sure that we had guns. I was taking care of the logistics as far as getting our staffing out there, lodging, food, travel, all that stuff. And I mean, it's amazing. I
Hey,
mean,
it
we're,
ain't
we're no, I mean we're not a Sig or a Glock or a Smith and Wesson or somebody like that. I mean, those guys have the big marketing budget and the big event budgets and stuff that we don't have. And I mean, it's I mean it's each one of those shows is very 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 easily significantly into like six figures.
yeah.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
well, and we talked to another industry guy about it, and won't name names, but basically he was saying they go to SHOT because out of fear of being irrelevant. And they say that because they're just scared to take that plunge. But, with you
Mhm.
guys not being in, 5 years going on 6, I'm sure that first year or 2, you guys were freaking out like, "Man, this might be a mistake. Guys, we gotta
I
beat
was
it."
freaking out when I was supposed to cancel.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm the guy having that conversation, and I'm talking to the guys at SHOT Show, and then they'll be like, "Well, what if you just instead of doing this, you just got a 10 by 10?" I'm like, "Hang on, let me go check with ownership." You know? And then I'd go to ownership, they're like, "No, we're out." I'm like, "Okay." I'd go back, I'm like, "No, we're out." And they're like, "Well, what if you did this?" I'm like, "Let me check, I'll be right back." I'd go because it was one of those things, because I mean, what people don't also realize is, I mean, there is an air of exclusivity to be in with SHOT Show because it is for industry folk only. So
Mm.
it's since it's not
Alleged
open to right,
allegedly.
Allegedly.
yeah, since it's not open to the public per se, there should be a little bit more of an air of exclusivity to it. But that's one of the things we saw too is the vetting of the attendees, I think, wasn't what it once was, especially like at range days and stuff. There was a lot of people that I'm like, how in the world did these people get out on the range? How did these people clear? Because I'm teaching these people to shoot guns for the first time,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. But
Say,
you know, it,
not to bash those guys, but it's interesting. You look on their site and it's like, "Oh yeah, industry only. If you wanna be a part as a dealer, you can get 1 complimentary pass or 1
yeah,
discount pass, something, and then each additional pass costs X dollars, and if you wanna buy those, you have to show proof of payroll or something for the
hmm
employee." And it says all this stuff, and it really would scare the crap out of people like, "Well, dang, I work at this gun shop, and I don't even know if I can go
Yeah.
because how strict it looks." And then you see people walking in wearing badges that are like, "Yeah, you don't work for those guys." Like,
right.
how did you get that? Be like, "I just wanted to go. They got me a pass." And it's like, "All right, I'm not telling on anybody." But
Well, I mean, we were when we were exhibiting and we had a large enough booth. I mean, like we were the larger the booth you get, I mean, it's kind of a ratio. Depending on the size of your booth you get is however many people you can get in as under staffing.
Right.
So the larger your booth, the more staffing you're going to need, and the more badges you get. But we can also get guest badges, and
Mhm.
we can buy extra guest badges and stuff. So, but it was scary, stopping SHOT Show because, like you said, I mean, it's fear of missing out. It's the fear of being relevant still because I mean, there's a lot of people that really they look at SHOT Show as being, that's where all the cool new stuff is introduced every year. And if you're not there, what are you doing? So
Yeah.
it's but on the flip side of that too, though, I actually started seeing a lot of manufacturers releasing more at the smaller shows that were open to the public
Yep.
than you started seeing at SHOT Show. It's really kind of weird because I mean, you have companies that might show things at SHOT that are a tease that aren't fully realized. They're like, we
Kinda
might
like
work on
SEMA,
this. Yeah. And
like
that's one of the
SEMA.
things that we really tried to, have ourselves, pride ourselves on is we really didn't want to showcase something that wasn't like imminently shipping. Like it was production ready and ready to ship. We didn't want to tease you guys with something that might be vaporware.
Yeah, well,
You
that
know?
that happened, that happens every year. You see the brand new whatever come out, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I need one of those." And I've been there. I've ordered them from distribution and waited 16 months and then canceled an order like it's never gonna show up. Like, this is easily a year past when it should have been out. I've already
Yeah.
been to another event. SHOT Show's already happened
Yeah.
again. This hasn't dropped. Like, what's the deal?
Well, and I'm not trying to throw any shade here or anything here because this thing came to fruition, but I remember back in the day when everybody wanted the Keltec KSG.
Mhm.
They introduced that thing at
Yeah.
SHOT Show and everybody wanted one, but it took like 2-3 years for that thing to come out.
Mhm. Yeah. So, Mike, let's go ahead and jump into our first segment, which is our Ask AI segment. So, this week's segment is brought to us by our friends over at Tipton. Don't forget to use code Whiskey10 at checkout to save a little bit of money.
Your workspace matters, and the Tipton Best Gun Vise 360 doesn't play around. Built for serious shooters, this vise locks down rifles, shotguns, and ARs with zero movement and full control. Tool-free adjustments, rock-solid clamping, and a 360-degree rotating cradle give you access from every angle. No shortcuts, no compromises. Whether you're building, cleaning, or dialing in, this vise was made to keep up. Tipton Best Gun Vise 360. Built to hold, built to work.
Here we go. CMMG is an American firearms manufacturer recognized for redefining the AR platform through cutting-edge engineering and forward-thinking design. Founded in 2002 in Boonville, Missouri, the company began as a small family operation focused on building reliable, high-quality rifles. Over the past 2 decades, CMMG has grown into one of the most influential innovators in the modern sporting rifle world. Their breakthrough came with the radial delayed blowback system, a proprietary operating method that dramatically improves the performance of pistol caliber carbines by reducing recoil, enhancing reliability, and allowing for lighter, more compact builds. CMMG is also known for bold, unconventional creations, such as the MK47, an AKR hybrid engineered to run effortlessly on standard AK mags, the Descent, the Banshee, the Resolute, the Endeavor. Uh, you guys have offerings in 5.56, 300 blackout, 9 mil, 45, 7.62, 5.7, and many more. You guys provide shooters with versatile options for defense, sport, and duty use. Driven by innovation, backed by American manufacturing, and trusted by shooters nationwide, CMMG continues to push the boundaries of what the AR platform can be.
I just want to know which program you use because we need to hire that.
I'll email it to you.
That was good. I'm like, well, I'm just sitting there listening to that whole thing. I'm like, man, that's a good commercial right there. I
Right.
mean, there's a couple small things that I was like, all right, that's not quite right, but I'll tell you, for the most part, that was pretty spot on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's crazy. I mean, we all know that, AI just scours the internet and takes everything, little factoid from all these places and compiles it. But the more and more we do this, our AI has started to understand what we want out of it. And
Mhm.
so it's getting smarter and giving me a 200 word, bio on each call.
Right.
It's like, man, you're putting all the good stuff in there.
I was sitting there thinking as you were reading that off, I'm like, I'm curious what the prompt you'd use there. It's like, we are going to have a guest from CMMG. Please write something that will stroke their ego. Is kind of what it sounded like you may have used for the prompt or something.
So when I started the prompt, I'll tell you this, the prompt started is, who is CMMG? And it gave me a freaking encyclopedia. And I said, nah, that's too much. Let's try a 250 word bio. It gave it to me and it was still a little long. And I said, let's try 200 word. That's all I said to it.
Huh, cool.
And so it's like, holy cow, like, but we've done this for over a year now. So AI is been called every name in the books. I'm like, no, you're not listening to me.
Oh man, yeah.
I think it errs on the side of flattery as well. It's all everybody's like, "Can you, like, send that to me?" Like,
Right?
I'll put that on the
No,
website.
that was actually pretty good. So
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I mean, there was only two small things there that, I mean, I wouldn't even say they stood out huge. They were just like, okay, that wasn't quite right.
Okay.
And we started in 2002, but we technically started in Fayette, Missouri.
Okay.
Okay.
So Fayette was where we originated. And we didn't move to Boonville until 2016. So
That's the new place.
it is.
Okay.
So I mean, but there could be a little bit of confusion though, because the two brothers and their wives, so the two brothers are originally from Boonville. So I mean, there could be just it trying to summarize it a little bit to keep the wording down, since you limited it to 200. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, it did kind of tout us with the Mark 47. Um, but I don't know. I mean, this could just be my perception of it, and I might be a little too close to it. But it was talking about, our radio delay blowback operating system, is what put us on the map. I really think the Mark 47 is what put us on the map. And then the radio delay blowback came later. But I mean, otherwise, no, that was really good. It kind of reminded me, because we were just talking about SHOT Show, and then I listened into that AI, like I said, stroke our ego a little bit. We were at, I can't remember what year it was. We were at a SHOT Show, and there was like a Fox News release talking about, how all these gun companies were out in Vegas this time of year. It's like, I think the public knowledge of SHOT Show was gaining a little bit of traction. Like in the industry, people have known about it for a while, but this was also after, I mean, unfortunately, whenever there's a tragedy involving firearms in today's day and age, it gets way more publicity and coverage than it ever did before, because of the 24-hour news cycle, because of social media, because of all these things. There's more eyes on it. So it's reported on a little bit more. So we found it really weird that, like, the coverage existed in the manner that it did at all. But in the article, I'm going to get to the point, I promise. But it's
Wait, is there a drinking fountain between here and there?
No, I'll get right to it here. But yeah, in the article, they listed all these titans of industry, and they had us listed in there. And we were all running around looking at each other. It's like, hey, guess what? We're titans of industry.
Titans of industry.
Yes.
We've shown up in a news article before too, and it did the same thing to our heads. We're like, hell yeah, we're in a news article.
Yeah. We made the news.
Wait till they start misquoting you and taking you out of context.
Oh, don't worry, we'll never be big enough for that.
Yeah, that'll never.
It was like 2014 NRA show, 2015 NRA show in Indy, one of those two. I was interviewed by CNN Money.
Oh.
And they were just talking about gun sales and stuff, and I off the cuff made a comment about how Hillary was possibly one of the best gun salesmen because everybody was scared that she was going to take our guns, you know. And it was in the premise of this very specific conversation we were having. But then later, like during the heat of the presidential race, they took that little snippet out of context and applied it towards something else. And at that time, I wasn't in the position I am now. And we had like a PR firm, and they're like on the phone with me. Who the hell did you talk to? And I'm like, I didn't talk to anybody. I was like, that was an interview from 3 or 4 years ago that's completely taken out of context.
Oh, yeah.
So like it's gotten to the point now, if even if I do like local small like TV interviews or something of that sort, I also have somebody there with me recording it too. So I have an uncut, unedited version so that if they try to take something out of context or use something improperly, I can go back and be like, no, that's not how that was said, intended, anything. You need to like do a retraction or whatever on that, because you know, I have the full conversation that you took an excerpt out of to fit your narrative, which is not what I was meaning there. So it's one of those weird things being in the industry that we're in. It's you know, everybody that's involved in it absolutely loves it, but so much of the time, if you're introducing yourself to somebody new, you kind of have to dip your toe in and see, you know, like, can I just say I'm a gun guy? You know, it's
Is it, am I crossing a line here? Like,
crossing a line?
is this okay to say? Yeah.
well, I mean, I remember going to my church, you know, it's like in order to carry, you had to like permission from like the majority of the pastors. And it was a big enough church that, you know, you had to have a number of them.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, I was like, I had a few on my side, a few were kind of like, you probably not. And I basically got the rationale of it's probably just best not to ask. And then I had an interview that was in a local paper, and like the next day, like the head pastor comes up to me. He's like, he's out in the congregation with everybody. I'm talking to like one of the office staff, and she thinks he needed her for something. He's like, no, I want to talk to Mike. And I'm like, oh,
What I do.
and he was just like very well, you know, spoken interview. I'm like, hey, kudos.
you.
You know, guess what? We can have intelligent conversations when we want to. We can have, you know, we're not just, you know, like, I don't know, cavemen, you know, just, you know, guns good. You know, we're
We want to be. We're in this climate, we're just not allowed to be anymore.
that's true.
I just want to be a guns good, you know, shoot, boom, like. But yeah, you have to learn how to talk to people, and you have to choose your words so they don't come back and backfire on you.
And you even have to do it within the industry now too. I mean, there's so many people that are, you know, industry adjacent, or that are, you know, they would call themselves pro gun. But you know, talking to them, you're like,
What?
okay, I have to sugarcoat this a little bit, because otherwise, you know, you're going to be, you know, claws out. You know, it's just like,
There's still some FUDs out there.
yeah. You know, and it's funny because it's funny you use that word, because I forever didn't want to use that word, because I'm like, I don't want to negatively paint somebody in our industry as something like that. But I'll tell you what, there are a lot out there, and I am supporting it more and more.
I said it, not you. Well, Mike, let's rewind it back a bit for some of the folks. We touched on it just a little bit in the beginning about the two brothers. Give us a quick rundown of how CMMG was founded, its roots in the 90s, and family involvement.
Well, so we have John and Jeff, the two brothers, and you know, I met them at church. We'll just say eons ago, it feels like. I knew they were into firearms at that point. I was kind of like a hunter at that time. I wasn't near as pro Second Amendment and into firearms in general as they are. But it's always been a passion of theirs. Like, they have always felt very strongly about the Second Amendment. They've always been kind of AK guys. And then, they kind of started tinkering around, and they were doing things with building ARs and helping other companies, with, I believe it was like some upper production and stuff. And they were making contacts within the industry. And then they started CMMG. So they started making ARs. They started making, going to SHOT Show, going to shows, making connections, instead of buying pieces and Frankensteining guns together at the local gun show. They were actually producing stuff that had, CMMG Fayette, Missouri on it. My first AR. So I've been a fan and a customer of CMMGs longer than I've been an employee. I bought a CMMG at a gun show many years ago because for me, I was from Fayette, Missouri also. So for me, there's something just inherently cool about having an AR with my hometown on it. But John and Jeff, they have incredible minds when it comes to coming up with new ideas for the AR platform. Like everything that we've got, was it was birthed in their heads in some way, shape, or form, and they might have even come to like our engineering team with some sort of rudimentary prototype, and just like went to the engineers and said, "Here, this is the basic premise. Make it better. Make it so we can produce it."
Yeah.
So that's where things like the Mark 47 came from. That's where the Anvil came from back in the day, which was our mid-sized platform that we had 458 SOCOM and 65 Grendelin initially. They're constantly, they're really good at keeping their finger on the pulse of the industry, really trying to, they're a little bit ahead in my opinion on trends in the industry. They're like, okay, they can see the writing on the wall on certain things and be prepared. Like since we've last had a podcast together, we've got our descents that we released, and we've released the BR series.
Yeah.
And when the descent came out, there's kind of a fun story with the descent is, we had that when we were working on it. So it was a bufferless system. And the pistol brace rule happened.
Yeah.
And we're like, you know what? We weren't going to release this for another few months, but due to the timing, because we saw things being inevitable. We saw things not being, conducive to firearm sales or AR sales. Because they're under the microscope everywhere anymore.
Right.
So we had this bufferless system that didn't need a buffer tube. So the whole thing was factoring criteria of like an AR with an attached stabilizing brace. Well, guess what? We had an AR that didn't have an attached stabilizing brace because it didn't have a buffer tube. It didn't need one. So, we named it the Descent because we were dissenting against the opinion of, everybody else in the way an AR should be and everything of that sort. So, we went ahead and released a Descent, and then it grew. And then, after the Descent had grown into, all the calibers that it has, all the different platforms, the rifles, the shorties, all that stuff, we went ahead and came out with the BR series, which is when we released it, it was more of the, restrictive state compliant firearm is kind of what we focused it on.
Okay.
Because our focus years ago, and one of the projects that's kind of always been worked on, maybe not as full-time as it was recently, but we've always wanted to come up with more of a kind of quote unquote ban-proof AR, something that you is featureless or is still going to be able to work in those restricted states or or whatever it is, but still be able to make sure that everybody has a firearm. And so we just went ahead and unfortunately competitors came out with things very similar, and they released them and we're like, crap,
Yes.
we need to release ours. And inevitably you get people that are like, oh, well, such and such company came out with that, that's why you released it. Like, you don't understand how this works. It's not like we just designed this yesterday and came out with it today. Like we've
Right.
been working on this for a while, but it is what it is. And, it happened to be a really good ranch rifle, also. And I shot it and I was totally blown away with it by like, I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting that, FUD feeling, it's got a 870 stock. It doesn't feel like an AR, but I shot it and it was just like, I want to run. It wanted to run fast. It just wanted to go. It was
Yes.
balanced well. And I'm like, okay, I did not expect this in the slightest.
Well,
And
I think that's a cool play because I want to like a Mini 14. I do. I want to like one,
yeah,
and I've shot a couple that were kind of enjoyable. But when you compare it to an AR, it's like such a lesser firearm design, and it's like I kind of like the fuddy ranch, wood stock and some metal, and it's like being able to get back to a classic feeling ranch rifle, but having the core basic operating of an AR platform gun is
yeah.
way more interesting to me.
Well, here's a fun little fact. Like, I mean, we don't always take ourselves the most serious. We
Yeah.
like having fun. We like having fun. Obviously, we are. We're in business to grow. We're in
Yeah.
business to to make money. I mean, it's what businesses do. But we definitely have a fun side to us too. So the BR series. So like all of our guns previously were an MK or a Mark series. So like the
Right.
Mark 47, the Mark 4, just think M4, the Mark 3, think 308, the Mark, 9, think the original 9 mil. So they were all a Mark something. Well, since these aren't a standard AR lower, we had to come up with a different designation. So we came up with the BR. Um the
Ban
what's that?
restrict. Is it ban restrict?
Oh, no, it's not, but that's actually
That's a
really
good
good.
acronym now.
That is a good acronym. The working name for that gun behind the scenes was the Boomer rifle.
There
We
you
just
go.
shortened
Yeah. Yeah.
we just we just shortened Boomer down to BR.
That man, I mean, it makes sense. Well, the other thing AI said, and I was like, well, I should have said this, but I'll say it now because I never knew. But it said that CMMG stood for Central Missouri Machine Guns.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that is
I don't know
that
it.
is that is something that I think at one of our I can't remember exactly how that came to be. I think the story goes that like at one of our early shot shows, somebody that came along writing an article reporting on us or whatever it was. Like I think that's what they came up with so that they would remember it. Um, and it makes logical sense. I'll be honest. Before I ever looked that up on the internet, before I ever asked, I assumed it was just Central Missouri Machine Gun because it just I
Because
don't know
why
why
wouldn't it be?
in my brain it works. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at a map of Missouri, look at where Fayette is, look at where Boonville is. It's Boonville is. I mean, I'm sure everybody here has heard of Midway, USA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Midway, USA is 20 miles from us. And the reason it's Midway is it is midway between St. Louis and Kansas City, right dab smack in the center of the state.
Hmm.
And we're 20 minutes west of there,
Yeah.
if that,
Okay.
depending on how fast you drive. So, and where we originally were was 30 minutes north of that. So I mean, it's as centrally located as you can get inside the state. And so, yeah, Central Missouri Machine Gun fit. And when and people called it that, but I mean, no, that's never been it.
So does it have a name? So or is it just CMMG?
Legally, it does not stand for anything.
Okay. Well,
Um,
I was going to say you got two owners with start with J and there's no J in there. And it's like, well, what does it mean? And it's like, all right, well, I'm sure it meant something at the time and now it doesn't or whatever. But
it did mean something, and there is a hidden meaning behind it. And I'll be honest, the owners enjoy telling that story, so I'd like to let them tell it.
What? Oh man.
So it's
Big
one of those
secret.
things. It's like it's a fun little industry inside thing. And I know what it is. But it's
Their
just one of
story
those
to
things
tell.
that I prefer them to tell the story because it gives them joy and being
Respect.
able to choose who they tell. and how they tell it.
I love that. So anybody listening, if you happen to ever run into the owners, nicely see if you can try that out of
What does it
them.
mean?
Yeah.
The fun thing is, and I'll just say this: we hint at it publicly a lot. Like we play with it a
Mm.
lot.
Yeah.
It's little things we do here and there. We give little Easter eggs here and there. We do little things that just, it's just we have fun with it without directly calling attention to it.
There you go. Well, before we move on, Mike, we are lined up for our first break. So let's take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors. This is the EXPS3 with DCR reticle from EOTech. Engineered for speed, built for certainty. The ultra-bright holographic window gives you instant target acquisition. And the DCR reticle allows for faster shots at close range. When every second matters and accuracy can't be compromised, trust the optic designed to perform when it counts most. EOTech, performance within reach.
When precision matters, trust the tool that delivers. The Wheeler Pro Series 100-piece fat wrench kit brings unmatched control to your bench. With torque you can trust and 100 purpose-built bits, it's the all-in-one answer for gunsmiths, builders, and perfectionists. Whether you're mounting optics or dialing in fine details, this kit hits every mark. Clean, confident, repeatable. No guesswork, no strip screws. Just pro-level performance in your hands. Upgrade your bench with Wheeler Tools.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. We appreciate you hanging in there with us. Mike, we're going to jump right back into it and talk a little bit about products and the innovations that CMMG has brought to the market. So I guess start us off with the first platform that CMMG ever put out, how that turns into a Banshee, a Resolute, a Descent, and then what you guys are doing right now.
Oh man, I'm trying to figure out how to start this. There's been a lot. There's been a few games of hopscotch in there, I think.
Okay.
Obviously we started off as a small arms manufacturer with a focus on AR-15s. We kind of were early adopters of a lot of customization. If you go back like on the Wayback Machine and like find some of our early website access, like you could find like an AR-15 and then it had the drop down menus. We're like, okay, I want this barrel, I want this handguard, I want this gas system, I want, so it was, you literally were building your own AR-15 just based off of whatever the base chassis was. I'm like, we were putting whatever handguard, stock, trigger,
and the
muzzle
color
device, all
options.
that stuff on it. Ugh. Well, that's more recent. Back then it was, it was the Henry Ford model with the Model T. It's like you can have any color you want as long as it's black. So we had the ARs, and then we adopted into the Mark III. So you got the 308 versions of it. Then we got the Mark IX, which is the 9mm Colt pattern magazine. And from there, when things, we also did the 22 conversion kit. The ability to run.
Big fan.
Yeah. That's to date, that and our lower parts kits are hands down our biggest sellers across the board on everything. So that's one of the things is not only do we have all the full guns or the uppers and lowers, but we have all the components for builders too. So individual detent springs. It was really funny. I think it's sitting here on my desk. I was moving some stuff around in my office a while ago, and I was like, I was surprised I found it. You're probably not going to see it here, but it's a detent. I was like, hey, I found one in the carpet. So it went flying. I know I bought another one to replace that, but I'm like, hey, I literally found a detent that found low Earth orbit at one point.
Move some furniture. There's probably a whole lower parts kit laying around.
Right. But yeah, so 22 conversion kits, for those of your viewers that aren't familiar with it, it's a kit that you replace the bolt carrier group in your 223 556 AR. You replace the magazine and you shoot 22 out of your AR. And it is hands down been one of our biggest sellers because you can shoot for, a lot cheaper than you can, standard 223 or 5.56. The parts kits were definitely something that was very popular. And then in late 2014, officially SHOT Show 2015, we released the Mark 47, which is the AKAR hybrid, designed specifically for 7.62x39. It's a whole mid-size platform. It's just overbuilt and it's a tank. It's the thing, just you could beat the tar out of it. I have one that I take to event after event after event that I've beat the tar out of for years. I finally had to retire it. That really kind of got us in the spotlight of thinking differently when it comes to the AR world. So we released the Guard, which was our radio delay blowback system. And, so this all still predates the naming system of Banshee, Resolute, and Endeavor. So we just had, whatever it was. But back in the day, we had the Guard, which was anything radio delay blowback. And then we released in 2018 the Banshee, which at that point was our focus at that point was the smallest configuration of any gun we had. So if it was the 300 blackout pistol, it was the shortest barrel we had. If it was the 9mm, it was the shortest barrel we had. If it was the 45, it was the shortest barrel we had. So that's where the Banshee came from. And then we kind of took a look and we evolved things from there. So actually with the release of the Banshee, we also released our DefCan line of suppressors for the first time. And our DefCan line of suppressors at that point, actually our DefCan line in general, have always been something that we've partnered with somebody else to make for us. We didn't make them in-house. But in 2018, we released the Banshee and complemented it with the DefCans. Then we did some marketing powwows, came up with some naming, structuring, and we came out with the Banshee, Resolute, and Endeavor. The kind of the easiest way for me to describe what those fall into is if it has a barrel less than 16 inches and it has, I have to add this caveat now because we've now got the dissent, but if it has a barrel less than 16 inches and it has a traditional buffer system, it is a Banshee. So whether it's a pistol or an SBR, if the barrel is less than 16 inches and it has a traditional buffered operating system, it's a Banshee. If it has a traditional buffered operating system and it's 16 inches, it's a Resolute. That's the kind of standard AR, just what everybody thinks of. They think of an AR, they think of a 16-inch gun with a buttstock. If it has a traditional buffered system and a barrel longer than 16 inches, it's an Endeavor. So that's kind of our, longer range offerings. It's got the 18, 20, 22-inch barrels, fixed stock, thing of that sort.
Right.
And then we came out with the Descent, which I kind of hinted at earlier. So it's a compact action. It's got front side charger. It has, everything built into the upper receiver. So it's not quite mil spec because it is a taller receiver set to be able to house all that. But since it doesn't need the buffer system, you can put a Picatinny rail on the back and just put a pistol brace, folding pistol brace. You can put a folding stock if you have a long enough gun or if you want to do an SBR. We have specific ones we've made for it, stocks that are folding stocks. We've also come up with our entirely new zeroed line of accessories, which is, larger bolt catches, magazine release, ambi safeties, things of that sort, muzzle brakes. We've come up with a lot of variants there. So, we've grown from just making the standard stuff to, Banshees, Resolutes, Endeavors, Descents, zeroed accessories, which includes our awesome trigger that we've got in them now. That is something we did partner with Rise Armament on. But we kind of changed. So we also have the DefCan, and DefCans were suppressors made, by other industry people for us. And we did change that at one point. And our most recent change, we started making our own DefCan 22 suppressors in house. We're like, you know what? It's small enough that if something fails, It's probably not going to be catastrophic. Let's dip our toe into seeing what it might take for us to build our own.
Yeah.
And we're like, you know what? A basic baffle stack isn't that hard. So
Yeah.
we this year have geared up and we released the zeroed suppressors. So we were trying to think of another name for the suppressors. Should they fall into, a new line of DefCan? Should they just have their own new name? But, we kind of thought about it. We're like, we have our zeroed line of accessories. And what's one of the best accessories you can put on your gun than a suppressor? So we just left it as the zeroed line of suppressors. And I'll be honest, we're not touting anything special with them. I mean, they're a basic 17.4 stainless baffle stack that we have robotically laser welded together. We have 4 different caliber offerings other than 22. We have 2 different lengths. So we have Ks that are 5.5 inches, and then we have standards that are 6.5 inches, give you 2 extra baffles. They all come with 2 direct thread mounting options. So you can have, like, most are going to be like half 28, 5/8 24.
Yeah.
It'll come with both of those. So it comes with 2 that are also Bravo Hub compatible. So you can take
Right.
those direct threads off and do a quick disconnect if you want. Now, the reason why we're not doing a QD or anything from the factory, just doing the direct threads, is because our focus on these suppressors, especially with a lot of changes coming, is we want it to be the everyman can. So it is durably built. It's, gas nitrided finish. It doesn't require any special tools. The muzzle end on 3 of them is a 3/8 inch drive socket wrench end. The other end is a 7/8
Beautiful.
wrench. Things that every guy should have.
Yeah.
If you get the 45, it's a 1/2 inch wrench on one end. So you don't have to, we're not getting you for special tools or anything. It's just durable. It works. It's not the quietest. It's not the lightest, but it's at a price that, can I say prices?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Ks, MSRP 550. The
Oof.
long ones, MSRP 600.
Yeah.
Our 22 can MSRP is at 275.
Okay.
So our whole thing is we want it to be a suppressor that most everybody can afford, that is going to be durable and reliable and just do what you need it to do. And that's kind of the whole thing too, is like, if you look at all the different fights that companies have legislatively, judicially, whatever it is, one of the things that we can always have in common that helps is if we can show it in common usage. So
Yeah.
let's price these things cheaper so more people buy them, so they're a more common usage. So it's harder for them to come after it later.
So something you touched on earlier, you touched on 2 things earlier. One, you were talking about ownership and how they do a really good job forecasting what the market's going to do and looking at trends and all those things. Then secondly, we talked about the best selling SKUs right now to date are the 22 conversion and the parts kits. And it's got to be a cool feeling if you've ever looked at it this way, but it's not that those parts kits and that conversion have funded everything CMMG, but it's got to be nice to know that, you've got those staples, those tried and truths that are going to sell day in and day out, that allow you the freedom to step outside of comfort zones and do things that you guys are doing now. And, like you said, first, you started with suppressors and doing, white label on it. Most people do that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say they'll do it 2 ways. Love it or hate it. They either white label it or they go buy the suppressors they like from brand X, laser or water jet those dudes in half, see the technology and say, oh, I can make this out of an inferior product, and I can bring this to the market for pennies on the dollar. And it's capitalism, whatever. I don't like that style, but whatever, you do you. But you guys have slowly but surely been building this catalog, this portfolio of everything. And I want to get into talking about the suppressors and the tax stamps, because Right now, it's like an episode of Oprah where it's like, you get a suppressor and you get a suppressor and you get a suppressor. But you guys were already ahead of that curve because you guys were doing this a year ago. This wasn't even a blip on the radar yet. We were still saying, let's take the NFA out. We don't need it. But
Right.
how has, the taking on the suppressor manufacturing and, the day-to-day operations of that stuff, have you learned anything from it, keeping it in-house now and seeing the ins and outs?
Personally, I know we as a company have definitely. There's constant little tweaks that we're seeing here and there while we're just machining the baffles.
Yeah.
We're learning little efficiencies here and there. It's it's really kind of interesting because I'm jokingly going to kind of say this, but there's going to be part of the truth to it. It's like, I mean, as the owners of the company, if they want to have suppressors, what's the easiest way for them to have suppressors is if we make them,
Yes.
instead of, trying to get them through somebody
Yeah.
else. So, one way that they can enjoy their hobbies and their love for the Second Amendment more is if we do them.
Yeah.
So, we've kind of had this plan in place ever since we saw, doing the 22 suppressors, and we started rocking out this new line of suppressors, and we're like, okay, this is not bad. And we already had plans in place to grow production on the suppressor line because when we moved to the new facility in 2016, I mean, there was a lot of open space. We've since almost doubled the size of that facility, separated it to one half is strictly machining, the other half is production, assembly, shipping. So like the machines that we have brought in just in the last 2 years is absolutely mind-boggling to me. Like I just keep walking through here just like, this is insane that we have this machine doing this. I mean, we've got our own barrel cells that are like we're boring and rifling our own barrels. We've
Nice.
got we've got little robotic machines that are just doing our gas blocks. We have, this new machine. We had one new machine that was doing baffles for our suppressors. We saw how good that was, so we ordered a second one. Well, like as soon as we ordered the second one, all this stuff that we're probably about to start talking about here regarding the NFA and the
Yeah.
tax stamp and all that stuff became, like out in the forefront, and everybody started talking about it. And we're like,
We got to order
oh,
some
all
more.
right. Well, it was like, well, we're already planning on ramping up. So we have two lines that are just cranking out suppressor after suppressor after suppressor. But like we're in the process of getting a new machine. Hopefully, it'll be here. Um, well, hopefully by the time you guys are watching this, it will be in the building. We are hoping to have it before end of the year. And even as fast as the two current machines that we've got have, even as fast as those two are, this new machine that is going to be mind-boggling. I don't know how much validity there is to this statement. I've not witnessed it. I've heard it through the grapevine, but I see our current machines and how fast they can change a tool. So like, I mean, our CNC machines now they're not what CNC machines were 5 years ago. Definitely not what they were 10 years ago. You have all these automatic had these head changers and stuff, and it's insane how quick they can change a tool head. It's my understanding we can cut a baffle faster than it takes for it to change a tool head.
Holy cow.
Holy cow.
Yeah. I've got a
So,
machine. There's a
so
guy.
we're trying to prepare for this onslaught that we see coming.
So I guess my question to lead into the NFA tax stamp deletion is, personally with you, there are lots of companies that are out there right now that have been selling suppressors since, God, late September, under the guise of buy your suppressor from me, we will hold it for you, and when the $0 tax stamp goes into effect January 1 or whatever January date it is, I think it's I don't know if it's one or the first business day. But
Well, it's probably the first business day after January 1,
yeah,
whenever that
yeah.
goes, 'cause
So they're going to put them, they'll put them in the system there. Do how do you think there's going to be a delay, and is it going to get close to the delays that we all remember, not so long ago, until they control it? Because I think they are going to create, how I see it is, you guys and every other manufacturer are going to have to ramp up. You have to have been ramping up,
Yeah.
right.
you know, and you probably can't keep certain SKUs in stock as is, which is a great problem to have, but not a good problem to have 2026.
Right.
So these guys are gonna, you're ramping up. All of a sudden, everyone's gonna buy these things. Silencer Shop, Silencer Central, whoever it is that you use for your suppressor, form, your forms to submit. All that stuff is going to go crazy, and we are about to log jam the ATF. And they are not known for spam approvals. Just yes, 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 yes. So what do you think? What do you think the delays are going to be like? We don't know, but let's just put something down and guess.
My magic 8 ball broke when I was 8.
I, think, I think we're going to see 6 to 8 month times until probably April.
I would like to think not, just for the fact that the system has become more automated. So it is significantly more hands off. So like there's not even a physical stamp on the forms anymore.
Nope.
It's a digital stamp
Yep.
of approval. So nobody has to physically take a form, put a sticker on it or anything of that sort. Everything is done digitally now. So the main thing we just have to be concerned about is make sure that their servers are going to be able to handle the demand. Um,
Hmm.
when when the
A lot of
ATF
trust.
when the ATF first released e-forms, I used to jokingly say, because I'm old school.
Paper
I
form.
remember helping customers 13 years ago do suppressors, and they were taking a year and a half then because there was just a boatload of them in the aisles of the ATF waiting to get logged in. And when they released the e-forms, we're like, okay, this could be awesome. But the system was janky. And when it first came out, I used to jokingly say that, I think they made the eForms website so that they actually had something that the Obamacare website worked better than. So it was, because it was pretty janky. Granted, it has gotten a lot better, but the thing is, there's still so many, as long as their servers can handle it, I think we're going to be okay. Because if you're looking at it now, I'm not sure how long ago your all's most recent suppressor purchases may have been. My most recent approval took less than 2 days.
So,
and I have friends that have gotten back in 6 hours.
so it's interesting because I'm also a dealer. So the last 3 that I've sold and they have came back in anywhere from, I think the longest was like 14 days, but most of them come back in around 10 business days. But I'm still hearing people say, oh, I've seen hour turnarounds. I've seen 24-hour turnarounds. It's like, man, I still haven't broke the 1 week, the 5 business day. Still haven't done that. And
see, and I think a lot of that has to do with demographics too, because like back in 2012, when I was first starting to do these paper forms, like there was like the NFA tracker website that you could go to. And like in Missouri, you were seeing a year and a half. You could go to Texas and you could be seeing 2 to 3.
yeah,
It all kind of, at that point, it was all dependent on the individual examiners for that region.
right.
And there might be something residual left over from that because, like I said, so when I say 2 days on mine, it was submitted on a Friday. I'm not counting Saturday and Sunday because it's not business days.
Right.
But I had it back by noon on Tuesday,
Wow.
so I'm like, okay, that was super for me.
Super cool.
I've got friends in Tennessee that have gotten theirs back in less than a day. So it's just I don't know if if there's something weird tied to the area that you're in, maybe,
So
or
I'm Tennessee. I just think honestly, I think it's weird though, because it's like my Form 3s, of course, still when Silencer Shop or whoever sends me one, yeah, I mean it's there in, I'm getting that approval in 24 hours or less. But it with those, it's still so weird. But I'm just like, you know what? I'm not the guy that complains, because my first handful of suppressors I purchased were all paper form.
yeah,
So I'm from the school of thought of, man, if you're getting them, what we're going into in 2026, if you're getting them for free and for no tax stamp, and you're still getting them within 2 business weeks, there's not much to be mad at.
no,
Um,
there's
Right. Yeah.
not at all. But see, I mean, so that's the other thing too, though, is like, okay, so you have the e-form process now that you're going to have everybody doing their free form 4s. But due to the demand, you're also going to have manufacturers that now have to get the suppressors approved for manufacture. You still have to do the Form 3. So if we sell one of our suppressors to you or transfer it to you, there's still that Form 3 that has to be approved.
Yep.
All that paperwork still has to be submitted by somebody. So like our compliance guy, he is not looking forward to
Hell,
what the writing that's on the wall, because I mean that's the other thing too though, is like, you have these people that they're like, okay, buy it now, wait. I'm like, we're not doing that. Just for one, that I mean, our production times right now are okay. If you ordered it from us, today while we're recording this, by the time we get through the queue of the demand that we currently have,
it'll be
um, it's going to be a week removed from it anyway. So the worst case is your dealer has to hold it for a week,
yeah.
and I mean, I know people that have just regular handgun transfers that, most people knock on the door the second UPS drops it off. But there's other people that they might not show up for a few days.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know what it's going to do, because the other question I'm going to throw a question back at you guys,
Okay.
is what do you think people are going to do regarding all the, um, talk of not legislation, but lawsuits and stuff? Because the whole thing is, the reason the tax stamp was there was to keep, or the whole reason the registry was there was to keep
Keep track
track
of
of
money.
people who paid taxes.
Correct.
So now that the tax is going to $0, they're not collecting taxes, and they now have an illegal registry. And there are a bunch of lawsuits in the wings. How do you think that's going to play out? Do you think people are going to wait and see what that does?
Matt, I'll let you go first.
So I don't know, dude. There's so much stuff going on. I think that there's definitely been a fall off in brand new gun sales. The industry, I think we are definitely looking at some sort of suppressor renaissance, like we saw with the AR-15 over the last 10 to 12 years. I think that we are looking at that. What short term is going to happen in the NFA situation along with that, I really don't know. I think that we've taken a step in the right direction, and that already lowers the barrier of entry for a lot of people and suppressors. Like that's always been my biggest thing, is like I don't mind, putting my name down, and I do a 4473 for most of the guns I own. Like what's the big deal with a form for a suppressor? I don't like having to pay money I don't like the extortion. I'm paying
Oh,
you
I get
for,
it.
like you're paying me for a permission slip to be able to do something I should be able to do. That's the part I've always clashed with. So I think that no matter what, we are going to see a lot more new suppressor buyers in 2026. Me being one of them. Um, I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna play out though with what they think about the registry. I
I
don't s I
Because
don't see
there's
them.
definitely, I mean, what we were talking earlier, I mean, there are the guys that are like, I don't care. I don't want the government has no business in my purchases.
Yeah,
Um, and then there are the FUDs, and then there, and then there's
yeah,
people in between. So it's really trying to figure it out because I mean, I, I'll be the first to admit, like, what made me hesitant initially on doing these suppressors was the weight. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm in an Amazon world now. I want my purchase to be something that I can have now. I don't want to pay X amount of money for the suppressor, an extra $200 on top of it, and then you say I can't have it for a year. That's why I never had a suppressor, is
Mhm.
because I'm like, I'm too impatient. I can take all that money and put it toward a new gun that I can take home now. But um, but when the time started getting down, I'm like, okay, now it's time to own suppressors. And so now I'm like, okay, I'm obviously, if you're living right, you're already on 6 or 10, government watch lists. But
Yeah.
um, I mean, if you're just a red-blooded American, you probably are. As far as the registry goes, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I definitely subscribe to the mentality of, I really don't believe there should be one, and I want to fight to make that go away. Um, and the gun industry hates it when people go, but, and I am going to say that, but I'm already on it. I've already done it. Would I like to see it cease? Yes,
Yes.
very much so. But is okay. Am I probably going to buy more now that I don't have to pay that extortion,
Yes.
to own it?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, there's no reason not to SBR stuff now.
I'm already on all the lists anyway. I
Right.
just don't like to pay to be on the list.
Yeah.
so I've got the FUD opinion. Um, kind of. I agree. We don't need a fee. The NFA shouldn't exist. All of the things. I'm with everyone there. The moment the tax stamp, they got it approved to go to $0, the first words out of my mouth, and I said them to Matt, were, oh shit, we just opened Pandora's box. And I don't know if we wanted to open that, because we opened it, but we didn't empty the contents. We just opened it. So that left it up to the administrations to finalize. And it doesn't look like this administration's going to do anything with it. So right now we are running at $0 tax stamps, but there's no guarantee during the next administration that it's going to go up. Now, we had a conversation with Dave Matheny from Silencer Shop. We don't think, and I brought it up to Dave, and I said, I don't think that it's going to go to the $4,300 that it should be. Should be, guys, don't kill me. Should
Yeah.
be
Adjusted for inflation.
based off
Yeah.
inflation. But I do see where it could go to something like $1,000 if we don't finish this.
Yep.
So what I've been telling everyone is, if you're just worried about you and want to buy your suppressors, live your life. I'm not judging you. Get your free tax stamp, buy your suppressor, and move on with life. If you care about everybody else's suppressors and the law itself, then consider that every suppressor and every SBR you buy, you're getting it for free. Take the $200 stamp money and donate it to ASA or some gun rights advocacy group that is actually going to fight to try and eliminate the SBRs and the suppressors from the NFA. Because if we don't, they're going to go back to $1,000 or something crazy that then none of us are going to want to buy them. Because before all this happened, I was the guy that said the $200 tax stamp doesn't bother me. I'm already on 20 lists. That's cool. But I don't mind paying the $200 if I can take it home today.
Right.
Mhm.
Now they've cut that time down, but I'm afraid what we're going to do is, and this is the FUD in me, I'm afraid that if we don't finish the job, it's going to be left and we're all going to be cheering, look at my free suppressor, look what I got. And overnight it's going to change one day and we're all going to whine and say, how did this happen? And we all kind of knew we didn't finish the job. I don't know.
I think your definition of FUD and my definition of FUD differ greatly.
Well,
Because I don't see that as being a FUD standpoint. I mean, because you're legitimately concerned of what could happen. You know, a FUD doesn't really care as long as you don't take his guns. You
yeah,
know,
but it's like if you don't worry about your guy next to you, and also what's this going to do? Because it's a slippery slope because there's NFA stuff that does matter. You know, if they pull suppressors out of the NFA without proper legislation, you know, states like Alabama, Colorado, I mean, there's a handful of states that if their suppressors are not in the NFA, then by their state definition, they're illegal and unable to own. And I
Okay.
don't live in those states, so I don't know all the nuances of the law, but we definitely need to change those for those guys before they get pulled out of the NFA. Or I'm going to be over here in Tennessee, like, look at my 500 suppressors I own. Screw you, Alabama. Like, I don't want to, I would be that guy, but I don't want to be that guy.
Idaho's looking at like Oregon and Washington, just like,
but see, that's the difference though, is you're involuntarily being forced to be that guy.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
You know, it's not by your own decision that you're doing that per se.
yeah, but
But
it's like I want to care about everybody, and
right,
gun rights
exactly.
is nationwide, and
That's why we came out with the BR series. We want, I mean, when we came out with the BR series, we got it to be like 47 state compliant. We couldn't quite get 48. Then we realized, okay, in order to get into New York, we have to just change the barrel and have it not be a threaded barrel.
yeah,
So to get it into New York, we offered a non-threaded barrel version of it, and like the BR naming, just because we don't always take ourselves the most seriously, we named the non-threaded barrel the Empire barrel for the Empire State, because we're like, you know,
so
like,
I love it. I love the naming. Perfect.
so I got a spicy question before we go to the break because I want to ask you this question. As an employee of a manufacturer, I don't want to name names because I see a handful of them. There's going to be a lot more coming. Looking on social media, I see a lot of, like we talked about earlier with the ARs, these companies starting in garages. I see a lot of suppressor companies, or I don't even call them suppressor companies, guys with the American dream and a little bit of cash that want to start building suppressors. And I can't speak to their metallurgies. I can't speak to where they're sourcing, but what I can tell you is they're making screw-in baffle stacks or, standard tube with some stacks and some end caps. And it almost looks like they're copycatting just enough to not get a lawsuit, but they're trying to bring these guys in at, 50% or more points less than what, everyone else in the market is selling for. And do you think that, they're gonna have their success and they're gonna make their little bit of money and it's gonna be a fast burn? It's like a falling star. It's gonna burn bright and then burn out. Or, I know certain people, or if you don't know who I'm talking about, there will be people in your head that you're like, there's somebody that, I'm thinking about when you say this. Like, how do you worry about it, or can you not worry about it and just got to stay looking forward?
Uh, I mean, that's always present. I mean, because in the AR world, we've had to deal with companies that have done similar. And, uh, I mean, for the most part, we just got to worry about what we can control. We understand that um, there are going to be less expensive products out there. There are going to be cheaper products out there in both aspects of the word. So the thing is as a consumer, I have fell prey to buying a cheaper product, because I didn't realize that I needed the quality that I should have gotten in the first place.
Mhm.
I hate using the adage of the buy once, cry once type of thing. But when it comes to my optics and things of that sort, I
What?
understand I understand why you need to buy a quality optic. I mean, I when I got my first CMMG AR many years ago, I found the cheapest red dot I could put on it, and I had it returned in 30 days because it had already broke. I got another one that got it in 30 days. I'm like, well, I should have just bought this EOTech. You know, it's I quickly realized, and while I don't want it to be a safety concern, um I also can appreciate, um, people being able to cater to people that will cater to, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, even at our trying to be the everyman can and having suppressors, quality suppressors with our guarantee behind it at 550 and $600, we understand there are going to be people that are going to undercut that.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, as long as those aren't producing a safety concern for the end users, and those companies aren't going to just leave those people high and dry if there is a safety concern. I understand that there is a place in the market for it, um, but I'm hoping that maybe with the introduction of things like that, people understand why it's worth paying a little bit more for the quality.
I
Mm.
agree. I also think that when you bring stuff in like that, when you take away the tax stamp, because right now it's it's not a necessity, it's a want when it comes to suppressors. And I think when the tax stamp is completely removed and if they're out of the NFA, it's no longer a want, they become necessity because it's just part of the build. Um, I think that the more you guys sell, yeah, you're gonna any business, you're gonna ride that wave of profit for a little bit. You need to. You got to recoup the engineering costs and all the things and pay these new machines off. But at some point, unless you're continually innovating, those prices are going to plateau or they might actually drop because you're selling more of them and they're becoming more common. So it's like, hey, and it's a lot cheaper to make 5,000 of these than it is 500 of these. So maybe that, of course you're going to have to keep some of the money to start, but eventually, hopefully, some of those savings get passed on to consumers.
And then we've also got the thing too, where it's like, okay, just because we have the suppressors that we're currently offering, just to be able to try to be ready for what's coming, um, we're already our engineers are already way ahead on looking down the road of what can we do to change or innovate or give a better offering at the same price.
Love that.
So I don't know that we're necessarily. I mean, I like I said, my magic 8 ball broke when I was younger. I don't really know what the writing on the wall is here, but I'm not saying the market's not going to normalize and prices aren't going to drop, but I'm also seeing companies like ourselves and other companies that are going to have to continue to innovate and push the edges of what we can do while still being competitive.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, there are a lot of companies out there, that are still in business or are no longer in business, or right now they might be circling the drain because they're trying to stay true to their customer and keep their prices steady while the cost of machining, the cost of raw materials, the cost of everything right now in the climate we live in is all rising.
Yep.
And they're doing everything humanly possible not to pass that on to their end user because they know if unless everybody sits in a room and talks and says, all right, we agree, we're increasing our prices 8%, 12%, 15%, whatever it may be. If you increase your prices, you're pretty much giving your competitor a piece of your market share. And that's unfortunate, but that's just kind of it's how business is done.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we are in a world and an industry that materials. I mean, materials. There's more of a demand for the materials. They are harder to come by. Ever since the um, things in supply chains were a little tougher to come by. And that what really sucked from a manufacturer standpoint there was customers don't care that I can't get the metal. They
Oh
want to
no.
know where their gun is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay, I'm sorry, but I literally don't have the raw materials to
Yeah.
make it from. But the consumer doesn't want to hear that. But then when I do get the raw materials, now my cost on that raw material has gone up because supply and demand. And now, okay, we've either got to eat it or we've got to adjust. And um, I mean, there are finite materials in this world being produced at a finite rate. And if you get things like this that are going to start, demanding more of that material to be consumed, it could it could be really weird because you could have the supply and demand. It's like, okay, um, you know, the demand is up,
Right.
so this you and the supply is low. If the demand is going to be really high because it's a $0 tax now, so maybe prices go up there. But then you get, okay, now the market's getting inundated with a lot of inferior product, and in order to be competitive, it has to normalize. It's oh,
A lot of facets.
it is going to be very interesting
That's
in
why I was
January.
like, I have no idea how this is gonna go. I think we're primed and ready for an explosion in that portion of the industry, but it ain't gonna be a
And
wild
you're
ride.
you're talking about how the gun industry itself has kind of gone down too a little bit. It's because, I mean, we're almost needing to rely on something different and the
Mhm.
demand for the suppressors, because I mean, we're getting to a point where there's not a lot of more innovation to be had in the gun industry. Firearms markets, I mean, I mean,
Not
everybody's just coming up with, they're putting a different coat of paint on it, and slapping some
Yep.
different rims on it and seeing if it works. And you got to admit, ever since 2020, when the industry definitely spiked due to demand for many reasons, um, we've never really normalized.
Nope.
The gun industry has definitely been an ebbs and flow type of industry, and we've never really been on that low like we were previous to 2020. Even our worst years since 2020 have been comparable to good years prior to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While it does seem like things are slowing, they're still better than they've ever been.
Yeah. They're still
You
That's
know,
true. Yeah.
they're still above normal.
yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and take another quick commercial break and hear from our friends over at Frankfurt Arsenal.
When precision matters, every detail counts. The Frankfurt Arsenal IntelliDropper 2.0 takes accuracy to the next level with advanced sensors, a sleek touchscreen, and effortless calibration. Whether you're fine-tuning or loading in volume, the IntelliDropper 2.0 ensures confidence in every drop. Frankfurt Arsenal, precision starts here.
All right, guys, we are back from the break. And so, Mike, to finish up with my questions, I want to ask you where, with the current administration where it's at, it's always when there's Republican candidates in office, gun buying is always historically lower. Um, and we're not sure what the future holds for that side. But where do you see the industry going as far as suppressed platforms, PCCs, and materials tech? What do you think the next step in the industry is personally?
Oh man, that's that's a tough one for me to answer. I can see certain trends going certain ways. But on the flip side of that, I also see what our engineers are working on in the background, and unfortunately, that's not anything I can hint at. Our engineers constantly have projects that are a year, 2 years, whatever out, that we're currently working on, and we might have a general idea of what we wanted to do. But I don't know. I think working with social media and stuff and seeing customer feedback and everything, there's the trends kind of are cyclic. You'll see things that trended years ago and we kind of forgot about that come back. So like the trends I'm kind of seeing now is, I think, due to the rise in popularity of suppressors, you're starting to see a lot of people wanting to get that SD look. They're wanting that tucked handguards, things of that sort. Unfortunately, by the time your viewers are watching this, they will probably have missed out on our special editions that we had starting on Black Friday, going through when they sold out. But we're testing the waters of a new tuckable handguard on our Banshees.
All that.
We actually had a big package that comes with the suppressor and an optic and everything. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And you have a lot of people that are really asking for and really looking to try to do that. They want that, handguard covering the suppressor. The flip side of that, if you've ever done it, the handguard gets really hot.
Yes.
It takes.
I got one right here. That dude gets really hot.
Yeah, it takes you a minute to realize, oh, maybe I don't want that. I mean, it looks cool as hell. And if you're mindful of where you put your hand, it's not bad. It's fun. It looks badass, in my opinion. We're seeing a lot of trends there, and we're working to adapt to that. So we're looking at, we have a new handguard for the Banshees and stuff that we're testing the waters on to see, do people really want it or not? We have people that claim they want it, but it's always fun whenever, I'll use 10 millimeter, for example. For years we released the 45 and everybody's like, where's the 10 mil? Where's the 10 mil? And by the time we release it, nobody bought the damn thing, so it's like, all right, quit asking for it if you're not going to buy it.
So I was going to say, I got one last question on suppressor tech before Matt finishes us up. So this is something I meant to ask you, but as a suppressor manufacturer now, 6 months ago, a year ago, for that matter, when people used to, you would drop a new suppressor and say, all right, we just dropped, the new zeroed suppressor. Here it is. The first question you'd get from the average guy who works the average job and makes the average amount of money is, well, that's cool, but is it full auto rated? And everyone would laugh because it's like, bro, you don't own a full auto, so what the hell does it matter? But in today's society,
FRTs and super
with
safeties,
the FRTs and the super safeties, that is becoming more prevalent. And I don't know if you have to classify it as full auto rated or super safety rated or what, but I believe the market actually dictated manufacturing on this one, because now I think manufacturers are going to have to account for that.
And almost all of ours have been full auto rated. And so our DefCan line of suppressors, we still do have the DefCan line of suppressors. They're a 3D printed titanium and Inconel, and they're going to be able to take just about any kind of abuse you throw at them. Whereas the 17.4 stainless and the less expensive ones that we have now with the zeroed line of suppressors, we call it limited full auto rated, meaning it's going to handle a full battle loadout. So, like, if you have 240 rounds of 5.56 on you on a plate carry or chest rig or something, if you shoot all of that, you're fine. Let it cool down and go at it again. So we don't say it's belt fed, rated. Like, it's not sustained fire rated. So, but what a typical loadout would be, we say go for it. Right. The biggest thing that other people need to watch out for too, though, is barrel length restrictions. A lot of people don't think about that, and a lot of people are kind of curious. They're like, well, this one says it will work on this 4-inch 5.56. I'm like, well, that's dumb. First off, why you got a 4-inch 5.56? I can't really say much because I think we have a 6.5-inch 5.56, but the biggest thing on the really short barrel 5.56s, that people, it's not that it doesn't handle the pressures. It's not that it can't handle the round. It's not even that we're worried about a baffle strike. It is the erosion that is caused by that powder
Mhm.
not having burned completely and everything in that short of a barrel. Like if you get really short gas systems and really short 5.56s, take the barrel apart and look at the erosion around the gas port. Look at the erosion on your muzzle device.
Mhm.
Those shorter barrels are rough on things that the gas is trying to escape out of. They're just hard on them. So, that's why we're going to put a barrel length restriction on the 5.56 zeros, is because we're like, yeah, I mean, it's made of robust material. You're going to be able to beat it up, but we also want it to be long lasting. So we don't,
Don't
we
use
are
it
going
on
to
a
put some,
3-inch AR.
yeah, we are going to put some limitations on it because we want it to last longer for you. We don't want you to have to send it in for a possible repair or whatever the situation might be. So,
Hell yeah.
hey, but backing up just slightly though, too, though, you're talking about trends.
Yep.
You're seeing old school stuff come back.
You're bringing back red anodized safeties?
No.
Oh
No, but
no.
so I don't know. I don't know that we're doing anything about it, but if you notice, you're seeing like just classic M16s and stuff like that. And,
Freaking
and
love them.
I don't even like ARs anymore. I had to put a carry handle AR together.
yeah. I mean, so you are seeing a trend of people wanting to go back to just, I mean, one of my favorite guns in my safe right now is, I call it a KISS rifle. I mean, it's,
Keep it simple,
it's just
stupid.
yeah, it's plastic handguard. It's got, front sight block. It's just, if something goes sideways, it's a gun. I know it's going to work.
Yeah.
Basic. Right on.
Yep.
Well, Mike, I think unfortunately we've reached that time again. I think that we did this I've been doing this one a long time, so I think that we did this last time. So
Okay.
it'll be interesting to go back and make a comparison to see what's changed up. But it's time for top 5 guns. It's not the zombie apocalypse, it's not World War III, but you do have to cover all the types of shooting that Mike Odell likes to do. NFA doesn't matter. The cost of ammunition, none of that stuff matters. It's all just a game. But this week's top 5 guns is brought to us by our friends over at EOTech. Use code Whiskey10 to save a bit on your order at eotechinc.com. So, Mike, what top 5 guns are you taking with you?
What was the criteria? I mean, was it
NFA doesn't matter. Cost of ammunition doesn't matter. But it's not World War II or World War III or the zombie apocalypse, so it's not like the end of the world. But you have to
so
cover
it's not a doomsday scenario.
no,
It's just a
but you have to cover all the types of shooting you like to do in every in your life. With those things still becoming a possibility in the future, of course, but we're not dropping you smack dab in the middle of World War Z or nothing.
Gotcha. Man, man, for just covering the types of stuff that I like to do. Do you want brand specific or you just want generalities?
Generalities.
Generalities. If there's a brand and a model, you're like, I know I want this brand and this model, like, yeah, that's applicable. But some people have just been like an AR-15 because it's so modular, you could
I
put
mean,
all kinds of stuff on it. But if you
because
like a CMMG, then
with my mindset, I've had, I've been kind of collecting toward my doomsday scenario or whatever it is, and I kind of have the guns that I want to have. Um, I'm always going to be number one's probably going to be some sort of Gen 3 Glock based handgun.
pretty common. Yep.
Yeah.
The
So
V? Not the V?
You don't want the new, you don't want the Glock V?
hey, I'll name drop here right now. I have a handful of shadow systems, and I love those things.
Awesome.
There you go.
Right on.
So I mean, those are my preference right now.
Shout out.
I've also got,
we're in the boys.
yeah, they're good guys over there. I've also got, ones that I've kind of put together. So, but my first one, yeah, just for the fact that that's what I've trained with the most. That's what I'm very comfortable with. That's going to be my number one, hands
Okay.
down. Number two, To complement that with a wish item, I would like some sort of quality 2011. I would like a double stack 1911, just a little bit of a go fast gun.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is though, I mean, talking about, the innovations and stuff, 5 years ago, I mean, it had to be, an STI or something of that sort. Anymore, still quality guns, and I'm not gonna mind one bit if you want to get me one. But there are, I mean, like the Bull LTDs and stuff like that. I mean, there are some
Countless options.
quality ones out there. The platypus, or isn't that what it's called? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of quality options out there. I mean, lo- love them or hate them. Some people are a little upset about Springfield, but I mean, theirs is, I mean, the
Yeah.
Prodigy, they work through the kinks, but guess what? If you don't mind tinkering just a little bit, you can make a quality gun for a decent price. So,
Absolutely.
so my number two would probably be, just because my handgun shooting background, I would probably want to go there. Um, Third is probably going to be, uh, ideally, it's probably going to be like a Benelli.
Oh, yes.
It's probably gonna be like a Benelli semi-auto or something. I Shotgun has definitely got a place in my heart. I love shooting shotgun. I have fun with it. I'm fast with it. I really want to lean toward one of those. I mean, I've got a decent semi-auto shotgun now, but I'd like to step it up a little bit better than what I
Yeah.
currently have. So that was third.
You got two more.
Fourth. Mm.
You're a hunter, so we need some sort of long range.
Well, number five is just goofy but fun. Well, I also haven't hunted in a long time. I find myself so busy at times that it gets away from me, and I don't get to hunt as much as I'd like to. Number four, I'm gonna go with the quality AK. Um,
Smooth
I'm,
bore for the W.
what's that?
Smooth bore for the W.
um, I'm it's funny because I work for an AR company, but I'm a bit of an AK snob. I like quality AKs, and there's something about shooting an AK that's man and machine. You shoot it, you want to let out that Tim Allen grunt. It's
Yeah.
just, it's there. Exactly. I was going to do that, but I don't know if you wanted to hear that or not. And number five, just for the hell of it, a Browning BAR.
Yeah, you can hunt with a BAR, no problem.
Why not, man?
They use the very same action in a sporting
Hey,
gun.
so I mean, and I'm talking old school Browning BAR, not this current stuff. But old school Browning, because that would also be one hell of a doomsday gun.
Yeah. Solid
good.
freaking choices. Solid freaking choices. Well, Mike, we want to thank you very much again for joining us here on Whiskey and Windage. Go ahead and tell the folks where they can find you, where they can find all of CMMG's products online and on socials.
Well, guys, thanks for having me. This has been a ton of fun. I love doing this. Pretty much across the board, we are just CMMG. It's not Central Missouri Machine Gun, but if that's how you remember it, that's great. So yeah, it's CMMG.com. It's on, it's CMMG on our socials. Some of them might be CMMG Inc., so INC. But for the most part, we keep it simple. You just see CMMG we're on most all the major platforms. So
Hell yeah. Well, man, we do want to thank you for coming on, talking to us about CMMG some more, also getting to talk to us about the zeroed line of suppressors, talking about the ban rated for, I'm going to say that, the BR4 and the BR lineup, as well as everything else. Guys, if you have a question for Mike, leave them in the comments. We'll make sure he gets them. And don't forget to check them out on the sites he said. On behalf of Mike Odell, Matt, I'm Mike. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next week.